nerds, what's up? So today I'm coming back at you with some more recommendations because a few weeks ago when I made my video about being dead inside, a few of you, actually a lot of you commented saying, well, what if I'm dead inside and I want to stay that way? Okay, weird, but also I get it. So today I'm going to come at you with some recommendations for books that messed me up in different ways so that you can stay dead inside. I've got 3 different categories. Let's get into it. So my first category is books that messed me up psychologically, philosophically. I have never been the same now since reading them. And the first one is a short story in Ted Chiang's collection, Stories of Your Life and Others. Oh, I did it. Okay. And this collection is incredible. I highly recommend both of his short story collections, but the specific story I'm talking about in this case is Hell is the Absence of God. I don't know. That story, I read that maybe 2 years ago now, and I still regularly think about it. I grew up Christian. I am still very Christian, and hell is the absence of God is a statement that is made a lot in Christianity, at least the kind I practice. And the way that Chiang twisted that and used fantasy or sci-fi to talk about that, the ending of the story, I literally cannot stop talking about it with people. All of my friends who have read that book know I literally talk about that story all the time. I don't want to say really anything more. It is just short enough story that saying anything would kind of spoil the experience, but I highly recommend you read it. Whether you're religious or not, I think the questions raised in it are very fascinating, and I will not be the same. The next one I'm going to talk about is something I have talked about on this channel before, which is Death's End by Cixin Liu. Now, this is the third in the 3 Body Problem trilogy, which is actually the Remembrance of Earth's Past, but I feel like no one says that. So this is the first book in the trilogy. You obviously have to read them in order, but I love them all. It's one of my favorite series of all time, but it was Death's End that actually messed me up. There is a scene, I want to say maybe about halfway through or 3/4 of the way through this book, that is going to haunt me for life. I can't say what it is, but it's haunting, and the end of this book is a little haunting as well. Just made me think a lot differently about the universe, about what can happen. It's a weird book, but weird in just the way I like. If you haven't tried the 3 Body Problem yet, I just cannot recommend it enough. I love it, and it will probably mess you up. Okay, my next category is books that made me ugly cry. Now, I don't cry very often. It's just not the way I express emotion. I don't cry in books or movies or even just in regular life a whole lot. So when I cry at a book, it means something. Now, the first one I'm going to talk about, I have talked about a lot on my channel before, which is the Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu. I absolutely love this story collection. I highly recommend it. But the titular story, the Paper Menagerie, I ugly cried at. It is not very long, but it is one of the saddest things I've ever read. It is so sad. In fact, I know it's not just me. Pretty much everyone I know who has read that story has at least cried a little bit. And in fact, one of my favorite reactions was my friend Leanna from Leanna's Library. I made her read this as part of a swap, and she was telling me that she was crying at some of the earlier stories, and then in her vlog was just sobbing at the Paper Menagerie. I don't know how Liu managed to get so much emotion in such a short story, but it just hits something straight in the heart. It's a little bit of a magical realism story. It's so good. Again, with the short stories I recommend, you can probably find them online and definitely at your library or through your Libby app. So if you just want to read the story I recommend, it would just be an hour, it would be fast. So I recommend this one if you want ugly cry. The next one that made me ugly cry is The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang. I think I cried through 150 pages of this book in the middle. You have the first half, and then right when you get to that middle, there's about 100 pages I remember posting on my Instagram that I just cried at. Just not sobbing, but just tears for the full 100 and 150 pages. This was one of my favorite books the year I read it. I can never remember when I read things anymore, but top 5. I absolutely love The Sword of Kaigen. I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about it. If you haven't started it, what are you waiting for? It is good and it is emotional. This is one
I'm not sure if you cry more if you're a parent or not. So you guys will have to let me know if you were a parent and it made you cry, or if you're a parent and it didn't make, you're not a parent and it didn't. But I cried a lot at this book, so this is my next one. Now my last recommendation is kind of weird because I actually liked the other book that this author wrote a lot better. This one wasn't a 5-star for me like the rest of these books, but despite that, like almost against my will, it made me ugly cry, and that is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I actually do like Circe better. This was only like a 4-star for me. I didn't realize it was a romance going in, which is stupid, I know. But I don't like romances. You guys know I don't like romances very much, so this was like a very romance-heavy book. However, it was obviously beautifully written because it's Madeline Miller, and it did make me ugly cry, okay? Fine, I admit it, like against my will. I cried a lot at the end of this book because it was so beautifully written and so sad. So if you like romance, definitely need to read The Song of Achilles because man, it is so beautifully written, and it did. Like I was crying so much at the end of this book. I couldn't help myself. So yeah, I have to put it on this list. It did mess me up a little bit. And my last category in this video is books that are just generally really, really depressing, but still really good. They didn't necessarily make me cry. They didn't necessarily make me feel differently about the world at large, but they were very depressing and very good. And obviously the first I'm gonna recommend is the First Law series by Joe Abercrombie. They're high up on my bookshelf. I was too lazy to get them down. But you guys know I love First Law, and the First Law trilogy, The Heroes, Red Country, those ones in particular, just left me with a feeling of kind of general depression at the end. Abercrombie's books, if you've seen my video, are really about the anti-hero's journey, in that we don't get to see a lot of growth in our characters. Our characters seem like they're growing and then they kind of end up back in the same spot, which is a very depressing thing for me personally. But man, Abercrombie is funny. Abercrombie writes characters so well that even though it does leave me a little depressed at the end, totally worth a read, definitely good if you're dead inside. And obviously this list would not be complete without the Farseer trilogy by Rob and Hobb. Now, I have only read the Farseer trilogy, I haven't gone yet, and read the rest, I will eventually, of Rob and Hobb's works, but the Farseer trilogy fits this perfectly. It was really depressing for me, but it was also just so good. The second book in that trilogy, Royal Assassin? They all have assassin in the name, so it's hard for me to remember. Pretty sure it's Royal Assassin. I still think is one of the best second books I've ever read, and maybe one of the most depressing, but it was just so good in its depressingness. So if you want to keep that dead inside alive, Farseer trilogy, you gotta do it. Okay, and to end this video on a not messed me up note, on a not depressing note, I have a giveaway for you all. I am gonna actually be giving away a copy of Tress of the Emerald Sea, one of the Kickstarter copies. So as you guys know, I had the amazing opportunity to go be a part of Brandon's book club in February, and they kindly gifted me my copy of Tress that you can maybe see on the bookshelf over there. And so yesterday, actually, my Kickstarter copy that I bought turned up, which was very exciting because I waited a long time, as all of us have. And so to thank you guys, my followers, I wanted to give away this copy to someone who maybe was only able to get the digital versions in the Kickstarter or just didn't back it all together, found Sanderson after the Kickstarter ended. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, like this video, and then leave a comment saying, which book got you into Sanderson? Let's do that. Just leave a comment saying which book got you into Sanderson, and I will do a random draw from this comment section in April. Yeah, I will let this contest run through the end of March, and unfortunately it will have to only be US residents because I have tried to ship to other countries before and it was kind of a nightmare. So unfortunately this is only open to people in the US. I know that's tough, but most of my followers are from the US, so hopefully someone can benefit from it. Thank you guys for being an awesome community. I don't say it enough, but it fills me with joy every time I read your guys' comments on my videos. They are always so thoughtful, so in-depth, and have such interesting things to say, and I am so grateful for a community that likes to do deep dives and research and learn more as much as I do. So thank you guys so much. Also, don't forget to tell me the books that messed you up,
because I am really curious to hear books that either messed you up philosophically. That's my favorite category, so definitely give me recs there. Ones that made you ugly cry, and of course, ones that are just generally depressing, although I feel like I know those series, but still tell me in the comments below. And as always, if you like these kind of videos, please like and subscribe. That is the best way to support me. And if you want to see what I'm currently reading, as well as other nerdy rants, you can check me out on Instagram at bookborn.reviews. I'll see you next time. Bye.